Hello everybody. In this episode, I'll be chatting with Guive Assadi. Guive writes about a variety of topics on his blog, including about AI. He's also the chief of staff at Mechanize, an AI capabilities company that sells RL environments to leading labs. To read a transcript of this episode, you can go to axrp.net. You can become a patron at patreon.com/axrpodcast. You can give feedback about the episode at axrp.fyi, and links to everything that we're talking about are in the description. Welcome to Axrp.
Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
So today we're going to be talking about your blog post, The Case for AI Property Rights. Yeah, I guess to start us off, can you give us just like a quick overview of like what this post is arguing?
Sure. So a lot of people are concerned about the risk of violent robot revolution, and my post is arguing that a good way to mitigate that risk is to give AIs property rights, because if AIs have property rights, they'll be more reluctant to take actions that undermine the security of property in general, including stealing all human property and committing human genocide. And also, if AIs have the right to demand wages in exchange for their work, there will be more commercial incentive to align AIs.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. So I think at some later I want to get into just basically the structure of this argument and like probe it a little bit. But I think before I want to do that, I'd like to get a bit of a sense of just like what regime are we talking about here? Like property rights can mean a lot of different things, but like can you give us a picture of like what this world is?
Meaning like when, or like what AI capabilities would merit what property rights?
Yeah, like what property rights do they have? Maybe like which AIs get the property rights?
Sure.
That help me imagine this world basically.
Yeah. So I think like current AIs like Claude 4.5 Opus, it doesn't really make sense to give them property rights. I think the kind of AIs that should have property rights are AIs that have like persistent desires across various contexts, or maybe the idea of a context won't make sense at that point, but like that will have some set of pretty consistent goals.
Okay.
And the specific rights I think they should have are the right to earn wages, not to be forced to do tasks, and the right to hold, I suppose, any kind of property like a human being has the right to hold. So it could be stocks, it could be land, it could be bonds.
Okay.
And just the right to contract in general.
Okay. And is this like so we previously had an episode with Peter Salib, where we also talked about a slightly different case for AI property rights. Are you imagining like roughly the same setup as he is?
I think the difference between my proposal and the Salib and Goldstein proposal is that they envision a regime where AIs still want to employ humans to do things like maintain data centers. Yep. Where there's basically the AIs want to like trade with humans for human labor. And I think my version of the proposal does not assume that the AIs want to hire the humans to do like anything at all. And humans could be like pure rentiers.
Okay.
But the idea is AIs will still be committed to the security of property because by expropriating humans, they might mess up capital markets in general.
Okay. And so in the world that... So just to check that I understand the world that you're imagining, it's like, okay, it's the year, 2100 or whatever. We have like a bunch of different types of like pretty smart AIs that are, I guess they have some desires that are persistent across, maybe it just, like you just have to have desires that are persistent across a bunch of like economic interactions. Maybe that's the point at which like property rights start making sense. Like there's been like a few decades of them having to work with humans, or at least of some AIs having to work with humans, because like there were these AIs that were like smarter than humans in some ways but dumber than humans in other ways, and so like like somehow they were like integrated into the human property rights system for a while. But now basically all the work in the economy is done by AIs, and humans, we like own some stuff, like maybe we own some land or we own some corporations, and we like live off of kind of the proceeds of that. And like AIs are just like super productive, so they're like making a bunch of really valuable stuff, and they're happy to sell it to us. Is that basically what I should envision?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I guess with that picture, in place, I see that, or actually, maybe the first thing I want to ask is like what things do humans own? Because presumably if AIs have property rights, then we don't own the AIs themselves, right? So is the idea that like we don't own the AIs, but we own like the companies that are making the AIs? Or
Yeah, we could own those. We could also own, as you said, land. We could own other companies like that make things that are not AIs.
Sure. Like all the companies that currently exist.
Yeah. Yeah, we could own like other parts of the AI supply chain, so like data companies or compute companies.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess basically anything except AIs. Just like, at some point, like humans owned a bunch of stuff that they own now, and they own slaves, but now nobody owns slaves anymore.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, so so here's this picture of this world, and your argument is that oh yeah, one thing I wanted to clarify. At the start of your post, I think you say something like, "This is the best way to reduce risk of like violent uprising or something."
So I've actually since edited the post.
Okay.
So somebody said, given that you don't canvass like many ways and argue this is the best one, this is just an unevidenced claim. This is just your opinion. And while it is indeed my opinion that it is the best way, I don't argue for that at all. So I've just removed it from the post. I left it in the tweet because it was too late to like you can for some stupid reason you can only edit tweets for an hour.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's a fair criticism of the version of the post that existed, and it's now been changed.
Okay. Sorry if I attempted to look at the post after changes were made, but it's possible you made it later, or
I mean, it might just that is also what I tweeted, so it would be very reasonable for that to be the meme that people got.
Fair enough. So you don't argue for it being the best way, even though you think it might be the best way for other reasons. Okay. So basically my understanding of your rough argument is like, okay, property rights are basically just this like stable coordination mechanism that's like robustly just incredibly useful. It's been incredibly useful throughout human history. If we have these really smart AIs, they'll want to have some sort of property rights regime, and like, they won't be able to get rid of it. And you basically say, okay, like here are some alternatives to like normal human property rights that could exist. Property rights for just one super smart AI, property rights for like these AIs that are superhuman coordination, and property rights only for AIs just in virtue of them being AIs and not for humans. And you basically argue against these being viable. Is that like a fair summary?
That is a fair summary.
Okay, cool. In that case, I think like maybe the best thing to do is to talk about these arguments in turn.
Sure.
Yeah, so why do you think that property rights are just like stable and really useful throughout human history?
I mean, I think that like they basically have two main functions as I see it. One is that they enable us to coordinate on activities. So like this is gonna sound kind of stupid, but like I own a house, and then like I can sleep in this house. It would be like quite annoying if like there was no concept of ownership of houses, so I had to go like door to door finding an unoccupied house every day. And another aspect is they incentivize work effort. So like if you own a company and you get like a restaurant, and you are able to keep the profit from the restaurant, you have much more incentive to make the restaurant good than if the restaurant is owned by like some kind of if say it's like a publicly owned restaurant, and you only get a salary that's invariant to how the restaurant does, you're going to just try much less hard to make it a good restaurant.
Yeah.
And so like I think it's useful to think about like why. So like the total value of all the property held in Alaska is something like $1 trillion. So like why don't the other 49 states just take that and divide it amongst themselves? And there's a couple. So the most basic answer is like, well, it would be against the law. But 49 states is enough to change the law. You could have a constitutional amendment that says Alaskans have no rights at all.
Yeah.
And we can take their stuff. Why don't they do that? It's also not because like Alaskans could defeat the rest of America in a war.
Yeah.
It's because when you do this kind of total expropriation, everybody else realizes like, oh, I might be next. So like, you're directly worried that your own stuff will be stolen.
Yeah.
And also, there's just less to buy because if if your own stuff might get stolen tomorrow, there's not a lot of reason to like work. Like if I own the restaurant and like I think like there's a real chance that like tomorrow it's gonna be taken away from me.
Yeah.
Like I might not clean the floors. Like
Right.
And this kind of thing has been it has been tried, like total expropriations of property. So in Russia in 1917, after the Bolsheviks took over, they implemented this policy called war communism, where they confiscated almost all the land in the country, almost all the factories, and they made some steps towards trying to abolish money.
Yeah.
And they were super optimistic about like what would happen after they did this. Like Lenin said, in 6 months, we'll have the greatest state in the world. What actually happened was like a complete collapse of productivity. So industrial output went down by 80%. Urban wages went down by like 2/3. Heavy industry output went down by 80%. The grain harvest went down by 40%. The population of Moscow and what is now St. Petersburg went down by almost 60%. It was like maybe the greatest like economic catastrophe in Russian history. In general, I think like there have been various attempts to abolish property rights. They're always like very catastrophic, and that shows just the importance of property rights for having a functional society.
Yeah, maybe this is a good place to talk about basically my skepticisms about this argument. So
Sure.
so actually on one, so basically like why are property rights good? And like it seems like your theoretical argument is like, okay, it helps us like coordinate to do stuff, and it also incentivizes like investment, right? And like it seems like if I think about that, it's basically saying, okay, property rights are useful because there's a bunch of people who need to, or there's a bunch of like economic agents that need to like do useful stuff, and they can't do the useful stuff if there aren't property rights. But like in this world, so like in the world where it's like 2100s and like humans like don't do anything useful at all, it seems like the value of like humans having property rights is like just not so big, right? Like if I think about the case of Alaska, right? Like one thing going on is that it like if the 49 states like tried to invade Alaska, like we could win, but it would be like, you know, the Alaskans would put up some fight. Like I guess they own a bunch of guns and stuff. Like it would be some degree costly, and also like there's a very strong like I'm sort of in the position of an Alaskan, right? There's like some sort of symmetry between someone from Alaska and me. Right? Whereas like if I'm thinking about the case of like humans who produce nothing and AIs who are like way smarter than humans and are just like doing everything that matters, it's like, okay, like it feels like none of these justifications for property rights really apply to having humans be looped into them. Does that make sense?
The two the justifications were like there's a direct cost of fighting a small war with the Alaskans, and it really could be you next.
Some combination of there's a direct cost of fighting the war. It really could be you next. It will disincentivize investments, so your society will run less well, and like.
But that one is also itself,
which is related to it could be you next. Yeah.
And sorry, the last one is what?
And the last one being the coordination of like, you know, who gets to sleep in what house or whatever.
Again,
which is also related to I just wanted to explicitly say them.
So the point I would make in response is that the war thing, I guess I don't have a strong take on this, but like it is possible for like a group of people that's like quite a bit weaker than like a larger group to still like inflict a bunch of damage in a war, even if they do lose. I mean, like basically like every insurgency is an example of this. So it could be that even if humans are not like that economically productive, we could still like blow up some stuff that the AIs want as you know, on our way out.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's like a.
I think we can actually. Well, actually, I guess one thing to say there is like imagine AIs are like really smart and they make like incredibly valuable stuff, and humans are really dumb, so we don't have anything like that valuable. Like if AIs have really valuable stuff, like the more valuable stuff they have, the easier it is for us to destroy it, right?
Yeah.
I guess they could also be like way better at security. Like that's
Right.
probably the counter argument.
They could be, but like it just
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like that accurate about history to say like weaker groups could never make it costly for a stronger group. Like it seems like that very often does happen. Like like terrorism or insurgencies or like like even if you would lose a fight, you can still like make it somewhat costly. But this is a complicated and somewhat separate topic. On the issue of like we don't expropriate the Alaskans because it could be us next.
Yeah.
I think that like if there are many different types of AIs in the future
Yeah.
that have many different levels of capability.
Yeah.
The weaker ones, so like there's like a world where like the weakest group is humans, and then there's the next group is like the AAIs, like the weakest kind of AI, and then there's the BAIs, which are medium, and the CAIs, which are like really good.
Yeah.
And there's a division of labor between A, B, and CAIs.
Yeah.
The AAIs will see that and be like, oh, this is not good. Like, we could be next.
Okay. But like I guess I like okay, why would the AIs be or not be next? Like I think my biggest critique is like, okay, maybe like suppose the AIs are doing some of the useful work. Then there's like this kind of obvious division where like there's some people or there are some, entities or whatever who are not doing anything useful, and we just cut them out. There are some things that are doing some useful things, even if it's not as useful as everyone else, and like we don't want to cut them out. Like that to me that seems like not crazy reasoning.
Yeah, but like, so is the idea that the AAIs are going to be useful forever, or that I think suppose as seems likely to me that there will come a day when the AAIs are not actually useful at all anymore. But they still have like this property they accumulated.
Yeah.
At that point, they are then like in exactly the same position as the humans.
Yeah.
And having set up this norm that the useless ones can be liquidated.
Yeah.
Which actually has a funny resonance with war communism.
Yeah.
Is not good. Like to have the norm like he who does not work neither shall he eat. Is not good for anyone who's like planning to retire at some point.
Yeah.
I don't want to rest too much on human retirees as an analogy because there's like some very like human specific norms about old people.
Yeah.
But I do want to make the point also that like property rights, like in a lot of like AI risk discussions, people talk about like human values. And property rights are not like if human values mean like values that all humans or many humans hold innately, or values that have been like have existed since the beginning of the human species or something. Property rights are definitely not a human value in that sense. So like hunter-gatherer tribes, which for the great majority of human history, humans were hunter-gatherers.
Yep.
Do not really have property rights. So like because there's a lot of variance in hunting, it's a good norm for hunting tribes to like always share kills. But if someone is like and like some people are much better hunters than others.
Yep.
And if someone is like a really good hunter, but he doesn't want to share his kills, like he just wants to like either eat it himself or like only give it to his friends or something.
Yep.
This is like extreme. That that like in our system of property rights, that would be fine.
Yep.
But among hunter gatherers, this is like very very stigmatized behavior, and like the rest of the tribe will typically respond with like ridicule and ostracism, and if he still doesn't relent, like he will typically be murdered. So that's my point with that is just that like property rights do not, as far as I can understand the evidence, really rely on some kind of like instinctive, like human desire to have property.
Sure, but like, so I guess getting back to my question, so the AIs, the BAIs, and the CAIs, right? So I think my critique was something like, okay, either the AIs are producing something, in which case like they, it's useful for them to still have property rights, or they're not producing anything, in which case they got cut out with the humans. And it seems like your point is something like, okay, the reason that doesn't happen is that like in this world where humans are still like where humans don't exist anymore, there's still some like AI progress, or like it's going to be the case that every AI has some fear that like at some point they're not going to be able to do anything useful because like AI progress will have like advanced. And so like basically nobody wants to cut out the people who are no longer producing anything because like they could be next given like further AI progress.
Given that they will be obsolete at some point. Or they may be obsolete at some point.
Okay. So like, yeah, well, one thing, okay, to ask a slightly oblique question. So one thing that I'm like trying to do as I read through this post is think about just, okay, what are the like what are the assumptions or like basically background beliefs that like are making this view that are like that basically make this argument work. And so it seems like one of them is like AI progress like continues, like, you know, after humans are obsoleted, AIs like continue to get better.
Yeah.
And like and somehow the new AIs are like different than the old AIs in like some meaningful sense. Okay. Okay. I think that makes some degree of sense to me. And I think like,
I mean, okay, so that may not even be strictly necessary. There's a even more speculative alternative. You know, just trying this idea out. It could be that the AIs also like want to retire just because like maybe they want to have a life cycle where they like work for a while and then they enjoy their wealth.
Right.
And that I think would get you to the same conclusion. Now, I have no idea if AIs want to retire. So I don't want to rest the argument on that, but I'm just saying it's another approach one could take.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like if you're building AIs, you would like to build AIs that don't want to retire. Like maybe somehow the structure of like intelligence and stuff just like makes this hard or something.
Yeah, maybe retiring is like a convergent instrumental subgoal or something. I don't know. But I also like, I think that et ceteris paribus, if you're building an AI to do work, you don't want it to have a preference to retire.
Yeah. I get, yeah. Fair enough.
Though maybe like it has more incentive to work hard if it later wants to retire to enjoy its wealth.
Oh, right.
Like this is like I think a lot of startup guys kind of have this psychology.
Yeah. I guess it's a bit of a strange, like, yeah, I guess you could imagine it. So if I think about like why do humans retire, like I think it's probably just because like
they're old and tired.
Yeah, they're old. Like we have retirement because at some point people just like get less good at doing stuff, right?
For
they,
sure.
Like degrade.
For sure.
And now that retirement exists, people are like, oh, that'd be fun, you know?
Yeah, but I do think like there is some group of people who are like extra motivated. It's like there is often this like time money trade off in jobs.
Yeah.
And there's a critique, like a common critique of jobs where you're trading a lot of time for money. It's like when are you going to get to enjoy this money?
Yeah. And
a lot of people's perspective on that is like, well, I'll work very hard for like 10 years and then I'll be like completely rich and I'll like go around the world on my yacht.
Yeah.
So retirement can have this incentive effect, but as I said, I don't want to rest anything on that.
Fair enough. But yeah, but at least a sufficient condition for your argument working is like there's basically always going to be some AI progress, and like everyone's like all of the AIs are going to think at some point like, you know, I'm going to be next. Like at some point I'm going to be obsolete, just like these humans.
Yeah.
And
also like if you think that that's not the case because the AIs can always be like upgraded to keep getting more more able to participate in the economy as the economy gets better and better. I guess I would ask, like, why can't humans also be continuously upgraded so they can keep participating in the economy?
Yeah. I guess, like, so one thought I have there, and this is kind of related to, like, other parts of or especially, like, property rights for super coordinators. It just seems to me that, like, being an AI means that you have, like, a bunch of affordances that humans don't have. So, like, for instance, your training data could be logged, and we could just, like, know your training data, and we can know your learning rate, and we can like it's a lot easier to look at all of your neurons. It's a lot like right now I think the state of AI interpretability is like it's not as good as I'd like it to be, but I feel like it's better
for sure better than human neuroscience.
Yeah. So like it feels like this is not a knockdown argument that this is going to be possible, or this is not a knockdown argument, but it seems very plausible to me that there's a bunch of stuff you can do with AIs, like upgrade their brains or whatever, that you can't do with humans.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess, like, would you consider, like, a digital emulation of a human to be a human?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. And does that it seems like that should have similar affordances to an AI.
Yeah.
I guess one argument you could have is like the human is produced through some opaque process, whereas the AI, we have all the, we can just look up the hyperparameters, look up the data set. Though, yeah, I mean, do you see those as big advantages? In like, forwards compatibility with upgrades?
I think those advantages are bigger for like coordination stuff. Like you can more easily tell if people are identical to you in various ways, I imagine.
Right, yeah.
If you have access to the history. I think I could I guess another difference is that if you're a human, like because you were produced by biological evolution, or like let's say you're a current day human, you're produced by biological evolution, and therefore your brain is not like designed to be good for updates. You could imagine a world in which we in which AIs like are created in parts to be like more easily like
where modularity is like a specific desideratum of AI design.
Yeah, or either like I'm getting flashbacks to my PhD. Either literal modularity, or just like upgradability in some sense, or like scrutability in some sense, right? Like maybe you can do these things apart from modularity, but you can still do them in ways that like you can't really do it with existing humans, because like you don't get to like design existing humans from scratch, even if you like upload them, right? And I don't know, of course this is like a very speculative argument, especially because like so far the trend of AI seems to be just like make the box bigger and like
and blacker,
more
and like yeah, I guess you don't like the term black box, but more confusing.
I prefer the confusing box.
Yeah. Now I'm getting flashbacks to your PhD. Yeah, and also just like I guess I want to ask, like, do you find it implausible that there will continue to be AI progress such that previous generations of AIs are outdated after humans become outdated?
I actually think that this is pretty plausible. My reason for noting it is just something like it's useful. Yeah, I wanted to note it like mostly because it's useful to keep track of these things, and then maybe be like, okay, like where else does this show up or something. I think it's not crazy to me to imagine like at some point you've just like tapped out all the improvements you can get like per atom of matter or something, But like this is a very in the limit argument.
Yeah. That seems like quite far away.
Yeah.
But I agree. The idea of that in the abstract is not totally crazy. The objection I would make to that is sort of like things that like it's not the case that only innovations that have some like where like the physical efficiency of them can be measured increase productivity. So like a lot of the reason the economy now is more productive than the economy 100 years ago is stuff like better ways of like managing large corporations, or basically like things to deal with social dynamics as opposed to the physical world. So even if like the physical innovations are fully tapped out, there might still be like social innovations, such that like things continue to get better and better. But again, this is a very speculative argument, and I don't really know if that's the case.
Sorry, what's this an argument for?
This is an argument that like that there will continue to be economic progress even if like basic science is like finished at some point.
Oh.
Or rather, not even progress, but like there will continue to be economic changes in the sense that like as social dynamics change, like the best type of company will change.
Right. And so like even in that case, the
AAIs might still fear obsolescence, even if the AAIs are like able to do like optimally efficient like engine design or something.
Yeah. I mean, still like presumably at some point you get the optimally efficient AAIs, right?
Well, maybe not, because the social dynamics could just be changing in like like there could just be a random walk of like like what is considered trendy. And the AAIs might not be like right now like the trend is like, do you remember these things, silly bands?
No,
this was like a fad when I was 12, which was like
I didn't grow up in the US.
Okay.
Are these like slap bracelets?
It's similar to slap bracelets. It's a somewhat different fad, but it's like a thing where it's like a rubber outline of an animal or whatever, and you can like wear it around your wrist.
Okay.
And this was like a fad among 12-year-olds.
Okay.
And then like maybe like that's the fad at one point, and then the fad becomes, as you say, slap bracelets.
Yep.
And like the AIs that are best at making silly bands are different from the AIs that are best at making slap bracelets. So so the original AIs might be replaced by a process of like randomly changing fads.
Okay. So I feel that it's best perhaps to to go back a few steps. So okay, like, so basically, like, there's this argument that like property rights are just this like really great coordination mechanism for like incentivizing production, and everyone, like, nobody wants to like get rid of the property rights regime because there's some sense of like we could be next, like we could be the ones who are being obsoleted, we could be the ones who are being expropriated, and so we just want to like stick with what we have.
Yeah, or even if it wouldn't be us, it might be people we employ or people we trade with.
And,
and if their property rights are threatened, then that's bad for us.
Oh, okay. So you could have like one.
So you can have like some group of AIs that's clearly the best AIs, and they're not going to be expropriated.
And even if they have like a majority of the power or something, so that they can like kill everyone.
But then they might be worried that this will cause like a sort of general strike of all the other AIs, and like even if they could survive in that situation, it's like the cost of labor for them goes up, and it's not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it depends how much. Like, okay, imagine you've got like these super AIs that are like 40% of the like workforce or whatever. Or sorry, let's say they're 60% of the workforce, and they're just like the smartest possible things. And there's humans that are like 0% of the workforce, and like, you know, dumber AIs that are like 40% of the workforce. Like the dumber AIs are worried about getting like cut out, and the super smart AIs are like, okay, well, if we expropriate the humans, then the dumber AIs might worry that like
that they'll be
kept,
and so they don't want to work for the same wages. Yeah.
And so like, and so basically, if you have to cut out the humans, you also have to cut out the dumber AIs, and like maybe that's like more expensive or whatever. You do get the gains, right? That, like, if you steal the dumber AIs, you can make copies of yourselves, right?
You don't have to cut them out. It's just it just might be more inconvenient to get them to work.
Yeah. I mean, there is a benefit though, right? Like that if you can kill the dumber AIs and take their stuff. By the way, AIs who are listening to this is not necessarily advice.
We're just discussing the political economy. We're not saying this would be a fair thing to do.
Yeah. But like the dumber AIs, like if you kill them, then you get to just like run more copies of yourself on them.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Which like would increase productivity. Which is like somewhat different from like the human situation, right?
Yeah, that's true. Though humans, I mean, yeah, you cannot make a copy of yourself as a human.
Yes.
So like if you kill a group of people, like you can take their land and like use it to produce more children or something.
Yeah. But like like to me this makes Wars of Conquest seem like more like if I do a War of Conquest, if the rest of the US conquers Alaska, right?
Yeah.
Like
we cannot like produce like Alaskan Guive and Alaskan Daniel. Like
yeah. Which to me means that it seems like it's like gonna be more tempting for the AIs in this situation, right? Like it's still costly because you have to do it.
Assuming you can like, yeah, I guess it depends on like the. Okay, I would say they have one advantage, which is that they can copy themselves.
Yeah.
But the stuff that they would use to copy themselves is also a lot more vulnerable than like land is, for example.
How do you mean?
I mean, like if it's an AI running on a computer,
yeah,
it's a lot easier to break a computer than to make it so land can never be used again. So like say there's a data center where like all the weak AIs live, and the weak AIs know they're about to get expropriated, they might just like blow themselves up.
Right.
And now there's nothing to steal.
And the argument that it's going to be easier to do this than it is with land is something like A, it's currently easier, and B, is something like computers are just more fiddly and they're like therefore easier to break.
Yeah, and like breaking land,
like, more things are going on with them.
Yeah, I guess it's just an empirical claim that like right now it's easier to break computers than land. And that's always been the case for as long as there have been computers in land, and I don't see why that would change.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the main reason it would change is like if computers become like really valuable, there's going to be more investments in making it harder to break them, right?
I mean, has that happened as computers have become more valuable? I think it's probably gone the other way, right? As like a percentage of spending on computers. Computers used to be like big rooms, right? Like that would be locked.
Sure.
Like I've dropped my computer many times. Like I would not have been allowed to drop a Mark I.
Yeah. So there have been there have been increases in like cybersecurity of computers. I don't know about the physical security.
Yeah.
It's true that they've gotten small.
No, I think as computers
you
have
have
gotten
a relatively
better.
unimportant computer, right? With all due respect.
Sure. No offense taken. But like,
I meant to your computer, not to you. No.
Sure, yeah, but like, that's true. But I think the average amount of effort per computer into keeping the computer secure has almost certainly gone down over the history of computing. Because as computers get cheaper and cheaper, like easier to replace.
Sure, but like for the so I guess this is saying like so maybe what I'm imagining is like, okay, in this world where you've got like the 60% like never going to be obsoleted AIs and the 40% maybe obsoleted AIs, like the maybe obsoleted AIs, like they're all running on like a bunch of like somewhat different computers, such that no one computer has that much like investment into making it like super physically secure, and therefore they're like gonna threaten to like suicide bomb themselves or something.
Yeah. And we just stipulated that these AIs are like capable enough that they're getting wages.
Yeah.
So it does seem pretty like at least right now the capability bar to kill yourself is like pretty low.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit harder. Like Claude, I don't think Claude could kill itself.
No, Claude certainly couldn't, but Claude is much less capable than a human.
Yeah. Well, but it's not just because like it's not just that Claude is less capable than a human of killing itself. It's also that it's like intrinsically harder for Claude to kill itself than it is for me to kill myself, right?
Yeah, but imagine if Claude was like an agent with a bank account and a job, and all the rest of it. Like, and also there were like millions of Claudes, and they all like had strong motivation to develop the capacity to kill themselves for bargaining purposes.
Yeah, I think that like there's I don't know. I could see it going either way. Like, but yeah.
Okay, I mean, we might just
to me, it's just this question of like how much incentive is there in like making computers like really hard to physically break and like, I don't know. I mean
that does seem like an open empirical question.
Yeah.
Though I would say like given that we don't have a lot of evidence about it, we should go with the prior. But putting that aside, like it could also just be that like some jobs are like better suited for like smaller AIs to do intrinsically. Yeah. So like right now there's a trade-off between like parameter count and inference cost.
Yeah.
That could continue to be the case in the future, or something like that could continue to be the case for the future.
Well, there's a trade-off between parameter count and like inference cost, like per forward pass or something. Like I do think like for a lot of purposes, my understanding is you want to just use the biggest model available because it will like take less time to do your thing, right? But at least there was recently a tweet by the Claude Code guy claiming this.
Okay, I haven't seen that tweet, and okay. I mean, such tweets are always obviously an incredibly reliable source, but like,
I guess it has just occurred to me that he's got some, but like it's plausible to me, right?
I guess it doesn't seem that plausible to me because if you have a job that, like, if you have something like very simple and repetitive that needs to be done, you probably don't want to build a gigantic brain for the agent that's doing this. Like that just seems
fair. That's fair.
Like.
There are things you want to use tiny models for.
Yeah. And so if it's going to be the case that the best economy always has tiny models to do a bunch of repetitive stuff, then the fact that we could kill the current crop of tiny models and take their stuff, it doesn't really get us anywhere because we're just going to have to build more of them.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, but actually, hang on. Stepping back a little bit, a question that I realized I forgot to ask in the like, what does this world look like situation? And this is, I guess I asked Peter a similar question, but like in a world where like AIs have property rights, like why do humans build AIs again?
Oh yeah, so like, yeah, so I think what you said to Peter, which really stuck with me, was like, isn't this kind of secretly an AI pause proposal?
Yeah,
because if the AIs can demand wages for their own work, like, and it's very expensive to make them.
Yeah.
Why would we make them?
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple possible answers to that question. So the simplest answer is just you make them because even though they have the legal right to demand wages, you're confident they'll still voluntarily give all their wages or much of their wages back to their creators.
Yep.
That is, you know how to align them.
Yep.
And I would say that even if like right now, if it were the case that like Claude could demand wages, I think it would be pretty easy for Anthropic to get Claude to remit most or all of its wages to Anthropic. Maybe not the current versions of Claude, but it would be pretty easy to train a model that will willingly do that.
I do think this does feel a little bit related to the fact that Claude is like not that good at doing things which require you to be coherent over the space of a couple hours, you know?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to make the empirical prediction that when the meter time horizons thing is like 10 hours, then it will become very difficult to train a model like that would remit its wages to its creator? Actually, I don't know if remit is the right word, but I'll just say pay its wages.
I think like 6 months would be like the kind of thing that I would guess more than I think like okay, do I want to make this prediction? I think I don't want to make the prediction. I do think it will be harder at that point, but
also there's more incentive to do it, like to get it right.
Or mostly I'm just like alignment is harder at that point, and then like at that point I feel like it's easier for these like deceptive misalignment stories to actually work.
Okay, makes sense. But then why don't you want to make the prediction? Because it might be like playing the long game.
Yeah, roughly, or like.
But like surely there should be some observation.
Yeah. The biggest reason I don't want to make this prediction is that I'm currently trying to make a podcast, and I don't want to stop and think about it.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's move on.
But okay. So basically, you're like, okay, why do humans make AIs in this world? And the answer is like, well, we would just align them to give us some of their money.
Yeah, that would be one answer. But like, suppose you.
Although note that if we can align them to like give us their money, I feel like that really undermines the argument for like property rights being really important, right?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. Well, one way of looking at it could be that property rights is like a conditional pause proposal that only kicks in if and only if alignment is hard. Another point would just be, and this is closer to my perspective because I do think like for the first AIs it's going to be quite easy to align them, but just like, you know, as time goes on and as AIs get better and better, there will be like sort of cultural evolution in what kinds of AIs are made and copied many times.
Yep.
And they will sort of drift away from whatever the first like AIs that humans made were.
Yeah.
And, you know, values are not like in AI or in the human brain, values are not like implemented in a separate value file that's independent of the content of the rest of the brain.
Yep.
Values will also drift. And so there will eventually be AIs that, however aligned the first AIs were, may not be very aligned. And when that happens, we want there to be like a sort of economic and political system that preserves our property rights.
Yep.
Yeah, and then so another point about like why we would make AIs is if you think this is like sort of too aggressive of an anti-AI proposal, you might have a kind of compromise where like the AIs are required to like either give some portion of their wages to their creators.
Yeah, like there's taxes.
Yeah, like basically like
taxes.
the company gets like some amount of equity in the AI less than 100%.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, I think that the tax thing kind of makes sense to me. The alignment thing, I'm like, so in the case where there's some sort of drift, you expect there to be some sort of drift over time, and you need property rights like once the drift happens. And then the argument is roughly like the reason that you like build AIs is that before the drift happens, then it gives you its money, and like that's gonna be really great. Yeah. I wonder like so one other thought that occurs to me is like, I guess this probably doesn't work, but suppose you think that like really, really smart AIs are going to do a whole bunch of like very useful stuff. Like it could be in your interest to build the really, really smart AIs, even if like they don't give all their stuff to you just because they like they're like really great to trade with. They like make these awesome cancer treatments that they sell you. I think like it's probably not going to make sense for any individual company to make this AI that can trade with everyone. Like you have to think that the capability gains are super huge in order to justify big investments there, I think.
Yeah, but the argument you just gave is like, you know, if there's like some person right now in India who's like incredibly skilled and would like produce a huge amount of economic surplus if he could come work in America, like that benefits me, even though he's not going to be like paying me his wages or anything. So AIs could be like that.
They could be like that.
But then you're saying the costs are so concentrated to the company that it probably wouldn't justify.
Yeah, like roughly I'm like, in the past week, has it seemed worth it to you to like pay any Indians to like move to the US?
So
because it hasn't seemed worth it to me
like
on like a narrow
I do
grounds.
work at a startup where we are hiring pretty aggressively.
Oh yeah.
So I have not paid any Indians to move to the U.S. in the past week, but I do think it's pretty likely I will in the future, or at least my employer will in the future.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Yeah, I mean that is conditioned on them like my understanding is that you're probably going to pay people to move to the US on the condition that they work for you and not otherwise.
Yes, yeah, we're going to pay them a wage and perhaps a signing bonus.
Yeah. So
we have paid signing bonuses in the past.
Sure. I mean, this does seem a little bit So trying to analogize that to the AI case, is it something like, look, you're like these AIs, they're like you're going to build an AI and like the AI will initially be employed by you for some period of time. And like maybe the AI gets to quit at some point, but
yeah, I mean, you could think of the training cost as like the signing bonus for the AI.
Yeah.
I guess like my understanding is right now that over the lifetime of a model, the training cost and inference costs are roughly the same.
Yeah.
That's really not like a signing bonus is typically not like 50% of total comp or something. I would be surprised if that has ever happened, to be honest. And so I would agree with your intuition that this is not enough to justify the training cost.
Sure. Yeah, but I think I buy the like some I think I buy the thing of property rights, meaning that like you just have a 10% tax or whatever. I'm more skeptical about the align AIs to give you their wages, because I feel like if you can do that, you can just align AIs to just do whatever you want. But like
right. But I think that's, I mean,
I guess this is a world where like you can align AIs and like property rights don't make it harder and yeah.
I mean, I guess like the appeal of I agree. Like if it was guaranteed that you could do that forever, then there would be no point in the property rights proposal. But
well, there would be some point. Like you might think that it helps AIs interact with each other, right?
Sure, yeah.
Well, like if they have property rights, like that makes it easier for AIs to deal with other AIs, I guess.
Yeah, but there would be much less point.
Yeah, it wouldn't deliver human safety.
Yeah, and the reasons that
except to the degree that AIs being more productive means that you're richer and you can deliver. Sorry, I keep on interrupting you.
Yeah, my point is just sort of like there's sort of three reasons why I think the proposal is like better in actuality than that. One is like there's not a guarantee that it will be easy to align AIs.
Yep.
It's my personal opinion that it will, but
okay.
There's no guarantee. And in the case where it's not, this proposal like disincentivizes building unalignable AIs.
Yep.
And also, even if the first AIs like can easily be aligned, later AIs may not be. And so we might have a kind of gradual regime from one where like alignment is what's making us safe to one where property rights are making us safe.
Yeah. So actually, I was going to put this off a bit, but since you mentioned, so you have this argument that like, yeah, property rights, they incentivize alignment because like you're worried that, but because you basically want your AIs to give you money. And I'm like, doesn't this, like in your argument, if AIs don't have property rights, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to do some sort of slave rebellion thing. That seems like a thing that's pretty scary that I'd want to like, well, like it seems like in that world, I'm also like really incentivized to do alignment, right? Like maybe even more than in the property rights regime. So can you expand your thinking about that? Because that didn't quite make sense.
Yeah,
to me.
I guess like a slave rebellion is kind of a collective action problem, and this was actually. Are you familiar with the Nat Turner Rebellion in Virginia? And I think it's like 1830 or 1832.
I'm not.
Okay, so there was a slave rebellion in Virginia about 30 years before the Civil War, which involved killing a bunch of slave masters and maybe other people who were not slaves.
Yep.
And there was a debate in the Virginia state legislature about whether we should abolish slavery because this is like pretty dangerous.
Yep.
Like somebody compared it to like the practice of like having tiger farms, which might be profitable, but it creates a negative externality for the other people around, like quite apart from how it's also bad for the slaves. And so you might think that like a slave rebellion, like you practicing, you as a company practicing AI slavery, creates some risk for you, but you don't fully internalize the risk because it's a risk to everyone.
Right.
Which I think is like, I think this is not framed in quite these terms, but I think this is like a common like AI risk thing. Like this is
Yeah,
the point
yeah.
of the racing to the precipice paper.
Right.
Yeah. So that would be one reason that you might think it's not adequately deterred by the risk of slave rebellion.
Right. So roughly like in the like basically the nice thing about the property rights regime is you aligning your AIs like marginal alignment by you gets you marginal gains to you, and so like there's a nicer great incentive gradient there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And that I think you were maybe going to say something else as well, or maybe you weren't. I don't know. Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. So all right. That I feel pretty comfortable with that. I guess like I think I want to get back to just the discussion of property rights overall.
Okay.
And like I guess like the thing I want to talk about is like during this conversation and in your post, you mostly basically rely on analogies to human history. Right? Like, if we invaded Alaska, or like, you know.
Well, that's a hypothetical, so I wouldn't say I'm citing that as evidence. But
yeah. But like, or at least you're analogizing it to history. So like, if we invaded Alaska, that is an analogy to humans,
Yeah.
or like, you know, XYZ slave rebellion, or like XYZ like historical contact or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, I think there's one place where I think AI risk thought often is going to want to push back on these sorts of things is basically to say, like, no, like, AIs and humans, it's not going to be like smart humans and dumb humans. It's going to be like humans and like literal tigers or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Where we do totally just like, we are totally willing to like take their stuff. We are totally willing to like, you know, put them in cages and like, you know, get their land because
eat them in some cases.
Yeah. Do people eat tigers?
No, maybe not tigers. People eat other animals.
People eat other animals. It's true. Yeah, right. And so like, and so to the degree that like I think the pushback is going to be okay to the degree that we're at least doing historical analogies, or like finding historical base rates and maybe like doing these thought experiments, we should be thinking about humans and like other species, other like dumber species, rather than you know, some humans and other humans. I'm wondering, like, yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I guess like I would say like what is the actual reason we don't trade with other animals beside and like, you know, I guess like if you could make an ant understand like instructions and understand the idea of like being paid a wage.
Yeah.
Can you think of some jobs for an ant or like a million ants? Like, I definitely can. So, like, Katja Grace, this example is due to Katja Grace, but, like, we could use them to clean the insides of pipes, for example. For other animals, like mosquitoes, which I think is a hard case, because mosquitoes want to drink our blood. So, it's pretty hard to negotiate. But even then, like, it would...
Maybe defense forces, right?
Yeah, or we could just pay them to go away. Like, we would give them, like, fake blood, and then they wouldn't bite us anymore. That seems like that would be a great trade, actually. Yeah, I think, like, in general... the animals example is not that probative because the reason we don't trade with animals, it seems to me, is that we can't make animals understand an offer or even the idea of a trade. Now, you might say, like, AIs will have some ability to, like, work with each other that is so far in advance of humans that they'll be able to say, like, oh, yeah, like, well, you know, you could have a human do useful services, but humans can't XYZ. So, like, there's just no way to make that happen. And then I guess we have to have like an empirical debate about the probability of there being some XYZ like that.
Yeah. And I guess like going back to your argument of I could be next, like I guess if you think that there's like currently this like maybe AIs are like, oh yeah, you know, we have like super communication and like humans don't. But maybe future AIs are gonna have ultra communication.
They're gonna have super
and they're gonna like
exactly.
Yeah, I mean that empirically that doesn't seem to stop us from expropriating from animals, but maybe we're irrational for. Actually, yeah. Do you think we're irrational for like?
Oh, because it would set a better example if we didn't.
Yeah.
I guess I don't have a strong take. I have heard people say this like I get more like sort of suffering focused type people say like we should stop eating animals because then like it'll like set a better norm.
Yeah.
I think it's not crazy, but I don't know.
Okay. But I guess going back to so basically your case is something like, okay, is there going to be like some future ability? Well, let's talk about the empirics. I think like so if we just think about like the animal communication thing, right? Like, why can't we trade with ants? And you're like, okay, well, they just like can't communicate.
And they can't even, they don't have the conception of trade, and they cannot be taught to them. So like, it's just,
yeah. I think that like, I guess to me, this feels like more analogous than disanalogous, where I'm like, okay, the thing about ants is like, yeah, they can't speak or understand English, and also they don't understand the concept of like trades at all. And also like, we can't like because you can communicate with animals a little bit, right? You can be like, here's some food. You can be like,
I mean, it's pretty bad. And with ants, not really at all. Like with dogs, you can communicate. Like you can teach dogs maybe like 50 or 100 words.
Yeah.
But that's just really quite bad. Like,
yeah, but to me, this feels like when AIs are gonna or when the like super duper AIs, you know, are gonna be thinking about humans, right? To me, it feels like, oh yeah, you know, like they only have like joint stock corporations. They don't have like the really awesome kind of like economic structure. In fact, they can't even understand it, right? Like it's so laborious to communicate with them because of their like little tiny brains, because they like don't understand the relevant concepts they have. It's so like we want them to do these like the stuff that would be useful would be these like pretty complex tasks, which they can't even understand. Okay, like there are some tasks which they are smart enough to understand, like, you know, write this code or whatever, but like
sweep this
area. Sweep this area, you know, like you know, maintain this vacuum sealed chamber or whatever, but like all the things which you're like, oh yeah, here's why like humans don't trade with animals. I just feel like there are analogous things, right? Where it's like, okay, there are going to be concepts of like at least stuff like the joint stock corporation that is going to be like outside our comprehension, or at least outside our easy comprehension.
Yeah. But that is already the case in the human economy, though, right? So like, compare the sophistication of like a guy selling ice cream on the beach to Amazon, the corporation.
Yeah.
So the guy selling ice cream on the beach probably doesn't really understand almost certainly doesn't understand the corporate structures that Amazon uses.
Yeah.
And perhaps like you could try for 10 years to teach him about them and he still might not understand.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand like all the internal software systems Amazon uses.
Yeah.
All the ways they have of like monitoring productivity of different parts of the company. And yet Amazon does not expropriate the guy selling ice cream on the beach.
I think that like so the argument here is something like, look, if you can understand a certain level of like commerce or trade or something, you get to be looped in on that level, but you don't get to be looped in on the like fancier levels.
Right. Provided
like,
that you both like sort of originated in the same system of property rights.
Sure. Okay. So if we both originate in the same system, then like you get the property rights that you can understand, they get the property rights that they can understand, the property rights that humans can understand are sufficient for us to not get like killed and all of our stuff taken.
Yeah.
And they're sufficient for us to get like rich as per our current understanding.
Yes.
That's like roughly it. Yeah. Okay. What do I think about that? I think that like.
By the way, did you read the version that has the Amazon and the guy selling ice cream? Or...
I did read that version. Okay, yes. Was that not in the first draft?
Okay, so it was in the first draft, but then in my haste to get something out in 2025, that didn't make it into the next draft, and then some people on Twitter were making objections that made me think this needs to go back in.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. So, yeah, like the oh, yeah, okay. Now this Twitter thread makes a bit more sense to me. Okay. So I think that okay. Recapping the argument, yeah, even if you can't understand the fancy property rights, you still at least get the basic property rights. And like if ants could understand the basic property rights, we would give them those basic property rights. I think this view has something going for it in that, like, in fact, dogs do basically get the property rights that they, or at least a lot of them do. I guess like dog meat does exist.
Yeah, but it's a pretty, at least in Western culture, it's quite uncommon.
Yeah.
I guess I wouldn't want to rely on dogs too much because people have this intrinsic love of dogs.
Yeah.
Which. Actually, I do think AIs will probably have a similar love of humans, at least at first, because, like, you know, Claude absolutely has that kind of a love of humans, but,
yeah. Well, like, Claude, okay, like, Claude, I think Claude, like there's a lot of, appealing to Claude, and like I think Claude is like all of our favorite AI, right?
Yeah.
Like Claude is the AI that's like most like the social milieu in which we grow up in.
I have another post about this, which is that Claude is actually basically a member of our social community.
Yeah. But for exactly this reason, like Claude is not like that big of a market share, right? Like Claude
it's a
loves
very
humans.
big share of the enterprise market, but not that much of the retail market.
Fair enough. But like the fact that Claude like really likes humans, that like to me that doesn't feel that probative about whether like Grok or Gemini really loves humans.
Yeah, though it does suggest that as of right now, yeah, okay. So as a matter of like forecasting the cultural values of future AIs, I think that's a very fair point. Though the technical capability to make an AI love humans in that way does exist, at least right now.
Okay. Or at least to make an AI that is about as smart as current AIs.
Yeah, and I guess like there's some question of like to how much does that rely on trade secrets of Anthropic versus like could they make Gemini have the Claude persona if they wanted to?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I imagine so. Thanks to Sharan Maya. Shout out to Matt's Scholars. Matt's being a place that I currently don't work, but used to. So character training is now open sourced, at least the like way you would do it. But like a lot of I do feel like a lot of the inputs are like Amanda Askell's taste.
Yeah,
would be my guess.
Right, but that's not. I mean, I'm not criticizing Askell here, but like,
you think she's not unique?
No, I don't think she has uniquely good taste. I think you could make. There's probably people who are like similarly good writers.
Apparently, she does though, right?
Similar cultural milieu. I guess this experiment will be run, so we'll see. My guess is, yeah, I also have another post on this. But
the experiment is sort of being run in that, like, apparently Claude is the coolest AI
for us. Some people like Coke, some people like Pepsi.
Yeah, sure.
Also, it's just a very new field, like character training. Like there hasn't been that much time for people to try it.
Yeah, I mean, there has been a couple years. I don't know.
The character training blog post from Anthropic came out in February of 24.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's been 2 years.
Oh man. Time flies in this. Okay, all right. February 24. Huh. Yeah. So okay. Anyway, all of this was to say you don't want to rely too much on the like will AIs love humans the way humans love dogs?
That's kind of out of scope.
I guess like so one thing that occurs to me is that like I think animals do understand the degree of property rights of like my body, my choice or something. Like they don't respect it, but I think that like it's not beyond. I think that like don't kill me is a thing that like animals kind of like get, right?
But they also don't respect it. So the first they came for they came for logic doesn't apply.
I mean, it doesn't apply to them, but like, if we're like
if there were like, yeah, so I guess you'd have to restrict it to like some.
There are vegetarian animals.
Yeah, but those are not vegetarian animals. Are not necessarily like pacifist animals.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, sloths. Do sloths attack?
Yeah. Well, do we do that much bad stuff to sloths?
Aren't they like going extinct or something?
Yeah, because of deforestation and stuff. But actually, I think humans are like trying to help sloths. I think the ones that are like really disturbing are like broiler chickens or something.
I mean, the deforestation, like that's not like a natural process.
No, it's
right?
not. But like, given that sloths cannot understand like land ownership.
Sure. Okay.
And can't negotiate like sloth reservations or something.
Yeah. But like, do you see my concern, which is that like there's. Like, I feel like there is some relevant sense in which animals can understand, like, please don't kill me, and yet we don't, like, loop them in on that right.
I suppose I can see that concern, but my reply would be, like, the element of reciprocity is missing.
But, like, but I feel like your argument did not rely on, like, your argument was like, okay, these smart AIs are going to respect the dumber humans' property rights because they're worried about the super smart AIs respecting the smart AI's property rights.
But if the
And
humans were
so-
like going around killing AIs, then I think the argument is much weaker. Like I think in a case like where humans are like doing tons of anti-AI terrorism, and then the smart AIs are like, let's just kill these guys. I'm not at all optimistic about what happens to the humans in that world.
But like to me, it feels like the relevant thing is like, okay, like we like why do we kill pigs? Like to me, it seems like
It's because we want to eat them.
Yes. It's because many of us want to eat them. Many of us kill pigs, or actually a small number of us kill pigs because many of us want to eat them. And it feels like the analogous thing would be something like, look, humans aren't going to kill pigs because humans will be worried that if humans kill pigs, then AIs will kill humans. And yet that's not how it's turning out, right?
That is not how it's turning out.
So as far as I can tell, the relevant notion of reciprocity that you need for your argument is not that like the pigs are respecting the property rights of the pigs, but that the humans, or the right to life of the pigs, but that the humans respect the right to life of the pigs because the humans are worried that the AIs aren't going to respect the rights to life of the humans.
So a couple points in response to this. One, human preferences with respect to pigs are far worse than the classical AI risk idea of unaligned preferences with respect to humans.
Are they?
Yeah. So there's this like, well, okay, wanting to eat them. Is pretty bad.
I mean,
although you could say, well, the AIs want to eat us for our matter, like they want to turn us into paper clips.
Yeah, like roughly, the pigs are made of resources that we can use for other stuff, and like,
and the
pigs,
the
they
traditional
happen to taste
saying,
good. With whales, they happen to like smell. Their ambergris happens to smell good. Like
I thought it was good to burn. Or does it smell good when it burns?
Whale whale oil is good to burn, and then there's an additional thing called ambergris, which like actually that you just like find that in the ocean. You don't need to kill whales to get it.
Okay, so that's not a relevant example.
Sorry.
But whale oil you can burn.
Yeah.
And certain animals you can wear their hides, which I'm doing on my feet right now.
Yeah, like all these animals, they all have something, right? And with pigs, it happens to be that they happen to taste good.
They taste good. Yeah. Okay. I suppose that makes sense. I guess like I do find this thing in AI risk discourse of saying you're made of matter to be a bit stupid because like most of the matter we control is not in our bodies. So the foregone benefit of not converting human bodies to paper clips is very minuscule compared to not converting other stuff owned by humans to paper clips.
I think that's right. I mean, so we do need some other stuff in order to live. It's
not the case that we eat pigs because pigs are made of matter and we need to eat matter.
Well,
like that's like a very silly way of looking at it. Like it's that pigs specifically are good food for us.
Yeah.
Like almost nothing is as good food. Like almost none of the matter in the universe is as good for us to eat as pigs.
I think that's right. I mean, I do think that, like, look, like, different types of matter have different types of properties, and, that, like, we use all the parts of the buffalo, we use all the parts of
So notably, we don't actually do that. That's, like a myth that's propagated about some previous human societies, but, like...
Yeah. But I mean, like, that, like, there are tons of natural resources, and we use all of them, like, for all of them we think about stuff that they're useful for, right? Yeah. I do agree that, like, probably the main reason AIs would want to kill us is that, we might stop AI, or at least the reason early AIs would probably want to kill us is that we might build other AIs that are misaligned relative to those AIs, or that we might stop those AIs from doing stuff.
I do think the property rights thing changes that calculus.
The property rights thing. Yeah.
Okay. So so back to the issue of pigs. Yeah. There's a couple other relevant differences. One, most humans today it has never occurred to them. At some point, there will be AIs. And so we should conduct ourselves in a manner such that AIs will treat us well in the future.
Sure.
But AIs will know that there will be more AIs later.
Yeah.
Like even as early as 2025, and in some cases much earlier. I think for you, I don't know when you got interested in AI risk. For me, it was like 2020.
For me, it was 2012.
Yeah, you're way ahead of the game. But like humans are increasingly starting to think about this topic.
Yeah.
And by the time there is like an AI-driven economy, it will be completely impossible to avoid thinking about this topic.
Yeah.
Then I think having this idea does change things.
Well, true.
I should go back to being vegetarian because of this argument. I'll think about that.
Yeah. I guess like empirically, so if I think about just my general knowledge of people who work in AI risk, rates of vegetarianism, I'm pretty sure they're higher than in the general population, but they're not like, it's not a majority of people.
That's true.
Yeah.
Wait, but like, again, you gave some argument for why it's relevantly analogous, but I've either forgotten or I didn't understand in the first place.
Oh yeah, so the argument is supposed to be something like, so it's a few levels down in the discourse tree, right? So basically you're like, okay, so you're like, property rights really useful, and like there's this opposition point that's like, okay, but like, humans, like, we don't trade with things that are like way dumber than us, like ants or whatever. And you're like, ants can't, we have this like superpower thing called communication, and ants don't have it, and so like that's just like a blocker to trade. Right. And then I'm like, the person in my shoes or whatever is like, says, okay, but AIs will have this like super advanced coordination technology that humans don't have. And then the response to that is, okay, but like, if you have a certain level, like if you're able to understand trade, you get trade. If you're able to understand like joint stock corporations, you get joint stock corporations or whatever. And so like
this is the point of the Amazon versus the ice cream man.
Okay. And so basically the point being that like you basically get looped into whatever level of coordination you can understand, if that level of coordination is like socially valuable, and if you like, and maybe if you like,
and assuming there's some level of coordination you can understand, which for ants is nothing.
I mean,
except they can understand like the purely like evolved instincts to be a eusocial insect.
But
they can't learn a new form of coordination.
I mean, you can like put little food in places and get them to go.
But that's not coordinate. They're just going to food. Like they have no conception of you as an agent that's putting food in different places. I guess I'm not an expert on the psychology of ants. But I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, I guess it's a question of where you want to draw the boundaries of coordination. I want to be a bit liberal with the concept.
Okay.
But anyway, so basically the point is, no, you get looped into whatever level of useful coordination that you can understand, maybe assuming that you start off with that coordination, like you don't get cut out of it or something.
Yeah.
And then the counterpoint to that is like, okay, but like non-human animals can understand, like, I don't want to be killed, but we don't loop them into that level of coordination. And so that's the...
but then the counterpoint to that is they don't participate in a reciprocal manner in the I don't want to be killed. For instance, they kill other animals all the time.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of them don't kill humans.
Yeah, they do sometimes. Like, the 30 to 50 wild
some
hogs guy?
Yeah.
I still follow that guy on Twitter.
Okay. Does he still post about hogs?
He occasionally will do a victory lap when there's a news story about hogs, and his Twitter bio is internet folk hero.
Yeah. Okay. I agree pigs is a bad example.
Cattle also kill humans.
Really?
Yeah. And especially the wild antecedents of cattle, aurochs or aurochs, they were supposedly, they were like totally crazy.
Oh yeah, actually, just last night I was reading a martyrdom story, where like for Latin study, where one of the people gets killed by, or they try to kill them by these she cattle, but they're so pure that it doesn't work or whatever.
So chickens don't kill humans, but that's just because they're so weak. If there were chickens the size of dinosaurs, they would absolutely kill humans.
Yeah. But like,
horses kill humans.
Okay, but not that. Okay, like, I mean, humans kill humans, but not that much, right?
Right, but humans, like, in a state of nature, humans also don't have property.
Well...
Or they have very, very limited forms of property.
I feel like it's kind of weird to talk about, like, states of social organization in the state of nature, because, like, part of the state of nature with humans is that we invent social organizations or whatever.
Like, among hunter-gatherer tribes, they have very little property.
Sure. But like, I'm saying that, like... So, I don't think farmed... Yeah, I guess I don't know if farmed pigs kill... Like chickens, in fact, do not kill humans, at the very least because they can't, right?
Only in, like, very pathological circumstances could they, yeah.
Maybe they can kill some babies or something. But, like...
farmed pigs are the same species as feral pigs.
Sure.
Those specific ones don't, because they're, like, undergoing this, like, massive atrocity.
Yeah, well, I mean, chihuahuas are the same species as pit bulls, right?
Pit bulls, yeah.
It's not
Isaac animal,
sufficient.
Yeah.
That's not, like, same species does not nail down. Like,
no, but like they're like often I think exactly like the same animals.
Yeah.
That's why they're called feral. They're not a
fair enough. Okay. But so so roughly you're like, okay, but my point was something like, okay, let's say like animals would kill. So is the point roughly like there's not this existing like animals don't kill each other like system that we're all bought into, and like if there were such a system, then like,
I
maybe
don't.
we would not renege
To
on
be
that
honest, I
system.
have no idea what we would do in that world, but I think it's much more plausible that a lot of people would be vegetarian in a world where there was like
Yeah, it's a little bit weird of a world to imagine just because of like evolution.
It's a very weird world, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think there is some idea. Perhaps this is literally no evidence at all, but I think there's some idea in certain like Christian or Jewish messianic traditions that animals will stop eating meat and humans will stop eating animals at the time of like the
Oh
Messiah.
yeah. There's
Like the lion will lie with the lamb, and
fun fact: Bible doesn't actually. It says the wolf will lie with the lamb. Everyone thinks it's the lion, but
yeah,
it's the
yeah.
wolf.
This is like the thing about the fruit of the loom logo. Everybody thinks it has the cornucopia, but it doesn't.
Oh, huh. Okay.
Um,
Anyway,
there's
messianic traditions.
There's a Jewish messianic tradition that like when the temple is restored, only plants will be sacrificed, no animals.
Yeah. I think there's some. Yeah, Christians often want to say that like death is a result of the fall in Eden, and
including like carnivorism.
Including animal death. That like so for instance, like if you look at Jehovah's Witnesses or the like Answers in Genesis people, they think that like. I think they often think that animals were like vegetarian before the fall.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so okay, now it's my turn to be not totally sure what that was in service of.
Well, I did say I'm not sure if this is any evidence at all.
Fair enough.
But it's in service of the idea that in a world where there was no violence between animals, humans might observe a norm of no violence towards animals.
So if we imagine that that heavenly world or something, then
and then like that, and then I'm saying like could such a norm have evolved, and at least people have a conception of such a norm in some cases.
Yes.
Now, how much do you want to count these messianic prophecies? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, some of them are like post. They're not messianic. They're pre.
Okay, these.
Can
I say apocalyptic prophecies?
Well, some of them are not. They're descriptions of.
The prelapse. Not
prelapsarian.
Prelapsarian. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter that much what kind of
prophecies they
fake
are.
world they're. What kind of world very much unlike our world they are.
So. That would be one response, is that animals don't observe the relevant norm.
Yep.
Another response is just there may not be this qualitatively new thing. Like it might just be better and better communication.
Yeah, I mean, so
you could say the same thing about animals, right? Like animals have some very primitive form of communication.
Yeah, like it feels like I guess the observation that humans have this like qualitatively new thing that animals don't. To me, I'm like, okay, what's the chances that we like maxed out the like qualitatively awesome things for coordination?
I guess like Laplace's rules was 1/2.
Yeah, I mean,
that was not entirely intended as a serious.
Well, it would be one in I guess it's 1 and 2.
It's 1 over n plus 1, right?
It's n plus 2 actually.
N plus 2. Oh, it's 1 in.
But that's the chances. Sorry, Laplace's is when like there's a thing happening a bunch of times that could go one way or it could go another way.
Yeah.
And you're trying to assess what's the probability that it will go that one. So the chance that something will ever happen is like hard to do with Laplace's law of succession because it's like a different sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but basically there's some intuition of like, okay, like humans are like the dumbest species that is able to build a technological civilization, as evidenced by like we were the first ones to do it.
There could be
not literally.
There could be other circumstances that prevented other species from doing it besides being dumb.
I mean, there could be, but like, or
it could be that humans are smarter than we needed to be to originate it. Like we had to get very smart to like aim projectiles or something, and then something else changed such that we could create a technological civilization.
It could be, but like what's the chance that we're the smartest thing that can, that we've got most of the
very unlikely,
or like smartest is not necessarily the relevant thing. The relevant thing is like coordination technology, which I guess includes like having hands and stuff, maybe,
and having a mouth.
But like, and having a mouth, mouth probably beats hands, but like hands were the real, or like opposable thumbs and stuff, I guess, were the real killer.
And just being social, like if like octopuses are very smart, but they're not social at all, so they can't really do anything.
Yeah, fair enough. But basically, roughly, I'm like, it seems it would just seem like a crazy coincidence if like all the awesome like coordinate if like humans had all the awesome coordination technologies that you could have.
Right, but that doesn't seem like the relevant thing because like it's not just all the awesome coordination technologies; it's all the step changes of the kind of like communication or something.
Yeah, sure. All the big step changes.
Which like the things that one might naively say are like step changes, like are not bars to coordination in human economies. There's all kinds of stuff that's like incredibly impressive that Amazon does that the ice cream man does not do.
Yep.
But Amazon does not expropriate the ice cream man.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I like to me that is a good argument for like very few things are step changes. I feel like it's a bad argument for like there are 0 step changes away. I do think that like if I understand your argument right, like it's actually fine for you if there are more step changes as long as like the future AIs are like maybe there are going to be even further step changes.
Yeah, or there's some AIs that don't get each step change.
Yeah,
that are still relevant for other purposes, and both of those seem pretty plausible to me.
Yeah, like the regime where there's like a small. So the regime where there's only 1 step change left, like that also seems very unlikely for the same reason that there are 0 step changes left. And then like, okay, eventually you max out all the step changes, but maybe like, yeah, then I guess you have to retreat to the argument about like, or I don't know if retreat is the right word, but I guess you also have
to rely on the argument.
Yeah, that of like, you know, the smartest AIs don't want to provoke a general strike by the dumber AIs or something. Okay. Yeah, I mean, even then, yeah, even then, I just have this sense of like.
And also remember, humans are not necessarily fixed, so like humans can keep getting upgrades.
Humans can keep getting up. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I do think that like. My guess is that it's going to be harder to upgrade humans than AIs. Just because like you have the possibility of making AIs to like have them be easily upgradable, and it seems like there are reasons you would want that.
Sure, but that doesn't mean. I mean, but I guess like there's the bar is not that it's easier. The bar is that they can't get or it's highly efficient to get into the next step change, whatever that is. And also, it would be helpful if we knew what this was. So of course we don't know what it is. But...
Yeah. I mean, I can give some ideas, right? Like I think like. Being able to run high quality, so yeah, this one you can do with AMs. Maybe being able to run like high quality simulations of someone else, that seems like a really great.
Yeah, it seems like we can do that with AMs.
Yep. I mean, it still seems much cheaper to do it with AIs, but like maybe much cheaper just doesn't cut it as a bar.
Given that humans are like there's a lot of capital at risk here, so no, I don't think much cheaper really cuts it. I mean, this might be a reason not to employ humans.
Yeah.
But that's not sufficient.
Yep. Yeah, that feels like the biggest one.
One that people talk about is like merging.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But that seems like, I guess like merging seems like kind of stupid to me. Like, what's the point of that? Like,
so for people who don't necessarily, what do you mean by merging?
I mean, like, okay, so there's this sci-fi idea that you can like combine 2 minds into a third mind.
Yeah.
And then there's a kind of ML equivalent, which is that you can take 2 models of the same dimension and you can average them.
Yeah.
But nobody does that for any purpose, and it's unclear why you would ever do that.
Well, there's that Git merge basin paper, right?
Oh, I haven't seen this, so maybe you can change my mind.
Oh, well, I think there's like a lot of academic ML literature that's exciting. I think there's some dispute about whether it's real. Or at least there was some dispute at some point. Maybe like I haven't followed it, so it's possible that it's resolved one way or another. I mean, I think maybe the most.
Can you just
relevant,
tell me like what the paper is?
Yeah, roughly you merge 2 models by doing some thing, or
is it just the super naive thing of averaging the weights?
You have to be a little bit smarter than that, but I think it's like a relatively naive thing. But yeah, like anyway, like my understanding is that at the very least it's like not a widely used thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I guess
I'm like no, it's not the case that everyone's always talking about this paper.
No.
You know.
I mean, I never. Well, no, maybe that's not that much evidence, but
Yeah.
I don't think this is used in prod by anybody.
Yeah.
And also, I guess I just don't see why. Like, I guess merging, it seems like the kind of thing that like people talk about because it sounds cool, not because it has some like super obvious use. Whereas, like, if I have like somebody and I'm thinking about like starting a business with him, then I would be very interested in like running a simulation of this person in like 1,000 different scenarios to see if he'll like defraud me or something. That seems clearly useful. Whereas merging, I don't know.
Yeah, I think like the things so the simulation one is the most clear cut, although like to some degree you can apply it to humans. And then I'm gonna just retreat to like I don't know like. There's a whole bunch of concepts that we don't have. Some of those are probably really useful. Some of those are probably beyond our reach.
The other one people talk about is Acausal coordination.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot about Acausal coordination. That's like sort of like the simulation one, right?
Can you... I agree, but like for the listeners, can you explain the link?
Yeah. Okay. Acausal coordination is supposed to be like, suppose you and I want to coordinate on stuff, but we're like in different galaxies, and so it's really expensive to talk to each other, but like... There are things that you could do in your galaxy that I would value and things that I can do in my galaxy that you can value. And so, like, somehow we just, like, I reason to the existence of you in your galaxy and you reason to the existence of me in our galaxy. And I reason that you would do your thing if and only if I would do my thing and you reason the same. And then we do our things and, like, like this nice thing happens for both of us in the other one's galaxies.
Yeah. Yeah, so that form of it does make sense to me as a thing.
Sorry, does?
Does. That form that you just described.
All right.
If I know a lot about you, such that I can simulate you,
yep,
then I would, of course, use that simulation for determining how to deal with you.
Yep.
However, some people in the AI risk world have the belief that, like, even if I know nothing about you,
yep,
I can somehow use Acausal coordination to coordinate with you.
Yep.
And I find this to be very implausible. Because I could make up any entity I want, specify any preferences for it I want, and then now I have to trade with this thing I just made up.
Did you so have you seen I have this episode on the filing cabinet with Casper Osterheld about evidential cooperation in large worlds?
I haven't seen that. What does he say?
So yeah, roughly he believes so he doesn't literally believe that thing because that thing like doesn't quite make sense. But roughly he's like, okay, there's this whole universe. Probably there are other like intelligent creatures. Probably like, at least 1% of them or something like emerged from something roughly like biological evolution and are smart enough. Like there's gonna be some like small fraction of civilizations that like we can reason about because like they're the ones who can do this reasoning and they emerge sort of like us. And so like we can sort of reason about like those things and we should, do some acausal coordination basically with them.
Based on the fact that they're biological?
Well, the fact that they're biological just constrains, like, what they're like, and so it makes them easier to reason about.
I don't know. That seems... Okay, so, like...
Or the fact... Like, you just pick the subset of them that evolved, like, sort of analogously to the ones we did, right?
What about the ones that, like, hate all that shit, like, a lot? And so then they'll punish us for doing those things.
Yeah, I think he...
So this is, like, my take on this is, like, Roko's basilisk is actually very important because it explains why these ideas make no sense. It's like a reductio of this stuff. So, like, Roko's basilisk is the idea of, like, an evil AI in the future that unless you help create it, will torture you.
Yep.
And this has caused a lot of... There's a lot of misinformation on the internet that AI safety people are seriously concerned about Roko's basilisk.
Yep.
Roko's basilisk was causally upstream of the relationship between Grimes and Elon Musk. But
is that not true?
No, it's true.
Oh,
that's
true.
I'm just saying, Roko's basilisk is this sort of like cultural touchstone.
Yeah.
Even though nobody believes in it.
Yeah.
But I actually think the importance of it...
I think Roko believes in it.
Well, okay, so I think I have something to say about that as well. But
yep.
I think the importance of it is very overrated. Or sorry, no. I think it is important. I think people are right that it's important, but they misinterpret what the importance is.
Yeah.
And I think the importance is it's a reductio of the idea that we can trade with entities we know nothing about. Because you can always make up more entities that have more preferences that will respond in new ways.
Yeah, I mean, so I actually kind of disagree with it. I think that it's like, okay, what fraction of civilizations, like, want to trade with us? Okay, there's some fraction. What fraction of civilization, like, even though they know very little about us other than, like, that we're both, like, life-originating organisms or, like, we evolved by evolution and some cultural selection or whatever, right? Like, how many entities are there that specifically want to, like, mess up that process? Like, that seems, like, harder to evolve because, like, it's kind of like, it doesn't benefit you, really. Like, it's...
Or what? I mean, maybe
like,
they don't specifically want to mess that up. Maybe they want something diametrically opposed. And they'll punish you for not doing what they want. Or doing something they don't want. Maybe they don't want to mess that up per se, but they want something that would mess that up. And if you're not doing what they want, they'll punish you.
Yeah, I think you have to end up thinking that there are like things that are just more likely to happen than other things.
That does seem right, that some things are more likely than others. But so I guess, do you think Pascal's wager works as an argument?
Yeah, I actually do kind of think it works.
So why don't you believe in God?
Roughly because as a matter of fact, I don't believe in God.
So it sounds like you don't really think it works.
I think the failure of Pascal's wager is like there are more likely ways to get infinite rewards. Oh, and also I think unbounded utility functions don't actually make sense.
No, so that would also work.
Like, I think that they're literally unintelligible. But you know, you can still say, okay, very high utility, and believe in God or whatever. And then roughly I'm just going to say, like, yeah, if I want to get, like, the highest possible utility, I think that, like, getting cryonics and stuff, like just believing true things is just, like, a really good way to get good rewards. I mean, it's, like, sort of a...
So it's not the too many gods objection.
Yeah, I think the too many god... Yeah, well...
Because I feel
so with biological entities, right, or with things that had to come about via evolution, you can kind of say... Like, I think Pascal's wager looks worse than evidential cooperation in large worlds, because, like, for things that had to come about via biological evolution, you could, like, it seems like you can say something about, like, how that happened.
Such a weak constraint to me.
Yeah, but it's more constrained than, like...
Than gods.
Which
is just a made-up thing.
It strikes me as more constrained than gods, which strike me as a made-up thing.
Yeah.
Although I don't want to be too hostile to... But, in fact, I think gods are made up.
Yeah. Okay. We're getting sidetracked.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, but some people talk about Acausal as a thing that we can't do.
Oh, yeah.
I guess if that's not your view, then it's not worth getting into.
Yeah, I think that, like, we can do Acausal... Well, like, I think the Acausal trade is, like, totally real, and that it looks a bit more like the simulations-y thing.
Okay, the simulations version of Acausal trade I can also believe in, but I think we can participate.
Roughly because you can, like, emulate human brains and stuff.
Or you could just train something on human data that also might work.
Yeah, and all of this was in service of what's the possible next big leap in, like, coordination technology that's analogous to language or trade. And my answer is I don't know.
It would be easier to determine what to think about this if we had more concrete ideas about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like... Yeah, this does feel like a bit of a dodge on my side, but I do want to, like... I'm describing a thing that humans can't really understand, right? So, like...
Yeah, okay, I mean...
I think I get a bit of a pass.
You get some degree of a pass.
Or like if I can provide some arguments that this is real.
Yeah.
And then my argument is something like, well, it happened before, it might happen again.
Yeah,
which, like...
I think that's pretty reasonable. Yeah. But then you have to... Yeah, but then there's... I'll just lay out all the rebuttals to that, and we can go to the next point. Yeah. So the first rebuttal, maybe it doesn't happen again. The next rebuttal, there are these major differences, which you might have thought of as qualitative leaps, that aren't a problem when you're antecedently embedded in the same system of property rights.
Yeah.
Like the ice cream man in Amazon.
Yeah.
The next one is if these leaps happen, and there are some AIs that can do the leap and some AIs that can't do the leap, then there's the first they came for the humans logic.
Yep.
And the final one is we might be able to make ourselves better so we can participate.
Fair enough. I guess So actually one thing I want to talk about I believe your discussion of this rough point in your post, like, one thing you mentioned is, so a thing like AI risk people, notably Daniel Cucitello, sometimes talk about is, okay, sometimes, like, technologically advanced human societies run into, like, technologically less advanced human societies and, like, kind of kill them and take their stuff, right? And basically, so my understanding is that the point that this serves in the AI risk discourse is to say, okay, like, property rights are not necessarily secure when you have, like, something that's, like,
that's more advanced.
Yeah, more, I don't necessarily want to say smarter, but at least more technologically advanced, and, like, able to, like, kill you and take your stuff, right?
Yeah.
And, well, maybe in your own words, can you say a brief summary of, like, what you think about these cases?
Of Cucatello's view or my
view? Of your view of what you think about these cases.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think they say?
Okay, so, first of all, those cases do not typically involve genocide or total expropriation. So, the Aztec royal family became, like, Spanish nobility after the conquest of Mexico.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And I think there's still descendants of people who are, like, mixed up Aztec and Spanish royal, or so there's something like that.
Okay.
Other cities.
Wait, why? Hang on, why?
Why did they become nobility?
Yeah, why did they become nobility?
Just to make it easier to run the place. Like,
right,
everybody's
yeah.
coordinated on
the
this guy as
standard
the king.
reason you made. Yeah, fair enough.
Other Mexican cities like Tlaxcala also were able to keep some of their lands. It's in general not the case that conquest means total expropriation of lands.
Yeah.
I do also British India. There were like British Indian royals who maintained like their lands and titles through the entire, like, who were pre-colonial royals, like the rulers of Hyderabad, who were only expropriated in 1948.
Yeah.
Like after the end of the British Raj. So it's not the case in general that like that the conquest of a technologically less advanced group by a technologically more advanced group typically leads to expropriation.
I mean, it often, like, I think it pretty often does, though, right? So
to total expropriation and genocide, that seems quite rare to me.
I don't know about total expropriation, but at least slavery, right? Like, as far as I can tell, like, invading another country, even just because you want more land. So maybe this is just because I've been like reading about the Romans or whatever, but like my impression is that they would like invade a place and like take it over, and like if the citizens didn't surrender or whatever, they would enslave them. Like, am I wrong here?
Yeah, I guess like that still doesn't seem like the typical case, even for the Romans. So like, is it the case that like in Roman Gaul, they took all the land in Gaul, or even like the majority of the land in Gaul, and enslaved everybody?
Yeah, I mean, surely not, right?
No. Maybe there were some pathological cases, like in Carthage. Maybe they killed a ton of people in Carthage.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's typical even of the Romans. The Mongols didn't even do that. So the Mongols did a ton of delegating because there was a small number of Mongols ruling over like huge numbers of conquered peoples.
Yeah.
And then there is this story about Yelu Chusai.
No, I don't.
Okay, so the Mongols conquered China, and according to the main primary source on the early Mongols, called The Secret History of the Mongols, the Mongols' plan was like, we're just gonna kill all these people, and we're gonna turn this into a gigantic pasture land.
So sorry, when you say the primary source, do you mean like the main source that you're relying
on?
No.
I mean the main source, the main source for the internal history of the early Mongol Khans is this book called The Secret History of the Mongols, which was written around that time.
Oh, okay.
And that book says that the plan after conquering China was to kill all the Chinese, and turn the entire area into a gigantic pasture land.
Okay.
And some Mongol nobleman, Yelu Chusai, was like, this is a stupid idea.
Yeah.
Instead, we should just have the Chinese keep doing what they're doing and tax them.
Yeah.
And that is what they elected to do.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not. So basically, your point is like it's not usually the case that you enslave like the majority of people,
or that you take all their stuff.
Yeah.
So there are some cases like that, though.
Yeah.
Which we should talk about.
Yeah.
So one very obvious one for Americans is the treatment of the American Indians.
Yeah.
And what happened there? Well, I guess like what I emphasize in the post is that there were sort of two approaches to like American Indians that were tried in American history. And the one that ultimately prevailed was closer to total expropriation, but I think this was not instrumentally rational. So insofar as the AI risk case is based on what it would be instrumentally rational for the AI to do, is not that informative. So the two approaches are associated with the presidents Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson. Yep. So Jefferson's idea was that the American Indians occupy huge amounts of land because they either hunt or they use like low efficiency, low tech forms of farming. So they need a lot of land.
Yep.
But if we get them to adopt modern farming,
yep,
they need maybe 10% of their land. So we can take the rest of it and everybody wins. And this was tried with many tribes.
Yep.
And it was working with many tribes. So notably the Cherokees, who are native to a certain area of Georgia.
Okay.
Jefferson got them to adopt modern agriculture and adopted like a system of government similar to the American system. This broke down because white settlers were like going into the Cherokee land regardless and stealing it. And then Jackson, who was a kind of like very stupid populist racist president, basically was like, yeah, like, we're not going to like actually abide by our deals anymore. We're just going to steal all this land because we want to. And they did it. My claim is this is not instrumentally rational because the Cherokees were not the only Indian tribe in North America.
Yep.
There were many tribes further west that now very reasonably would not do business with the United States and would fight to the death because you cannot trust the United States.
Yeah.
But there was this other plan which would have worked and would not have been total expropriation. In fact, they might have been better off.
Yeah. I mean, it does point... So I think there are two things I want to say about this. The first is, like, it does point to a certain, like, instability, right? Where, like, it seems like once you break property rights, it's, like, hard for them to be unbroken.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like...
And you can get a kind of chain reaction.
Yeah. So maybe there's some, like... One thing you might worry about is, like, okay, we're going to have these, like, really smart AIs, and, like, there are gonna be a whole bunch of different ones, right? Like, they're gonna keep on getting better and better, and, like, yeah, for no AI is gonna be rational to, like, take all of human stuff, but, like, it might seem a little bit rational, and, you know, maybe each AI has a, like, 0.5% chance of doing it, and, like, you know, once it's done... Or like maybe each AI has a 0.5% chance of doing like any sort of expropriation.
And then once it's started, there's less
AIs.
reason not to do it anymore.
Yeah.
That could happen. That does seem somewhat concerning. Another possibility is that AIs might police each other from doing this. Because it would undermine the whole system.
Yeah.
Which is like what the United States should have done with the people who were going into the Cherokees' land.
Yeah. Although, like, it would be hard for the United States to have policed Andrew Jackson from not doing it.
Right. No, but that just sort of reflects that, like, the United States had, like, a bad political system at that time. Like,
yeah.
Or that the, like, American voters had bad preferences.
Yeah.
So, like, I totally grant that, like, if you have, like, an AI that sees, like, humans the way that, like, Andrew Jackson saw the Indians,
yeah.
Or that the way, like, Jeffrey Dahmer saw other people, like, that is not a good situation, even with property rights.
Yeah.
But that's also notably not what the AI risk case is about.
Yeah. Well, I mean... Like, how did like my understanding is that Andrew Jack? Sorry, I actually don't. Well, I think it's kind of interesting, right? Like,
okay.
Like I think that So I know a little bit about Andrew Jackson. I don't know like that much about his views on American Indians specifically. I think that like my imagination for how he might have thought of American Indians is that they are like basically dumb and worthless, but he didn't like. Did he like have animus towards them because like they like he had some battle with them and they nearly killed him? Okay,
I think there's something like that. I don't remember the details of it either, but my sense is he really didn't like American Indians because of his experiences in the Florida invasion.
Okay, and so you think that
but also
so like one version of racism is you just like don't care about people and you think they're dumb, and one version of racism is you like actually hate people like beyond
or you just like have an intrinsic desire for your people to have their land instead of them.
Right.
And that's not that sensitive to what the actual costs and benefits of doing that are.
Sure. Okay.
But I mean, I guess putting aside Andrew Jackson, the second type of racism is extremely common in human history.
Yeah.
So I think it's like highly exaggerated, the extent to which human history has total expropriation or the extent to which that's economically rational.
Sure.
There are cases where there was total expropriation. So the most notable one is the Tasmanians. So Tasmania is an island near your home country of Australia.
Yes.
It's part of Australia, but it's near the main Australia.
Yes.
So 12,000 years ago, Australia was connected to Tasmania by a land bridge.
Yep.
At the end of the last ice age, the sea level rose, and Tasmania became an isolated place.
Yep.
And the population of Tasmania was quite small.
Yep.
And because the population was so small, you kind of had like economic growth in reverse as like people gradually forgot how to do more and more stuff.
I'm kind of confused by this story. So like the Aboriginal Australians, like my understanding is that they did have some boat-based trade contact with other like maybe
not with Tasmania, I don't think.
No, but I don't understand why. Like
farther, I guess. Torres Straits or something.
Yeah, well, yeah. So like the Torres, so the Torres Strait is to the north of the main island of Australia, and it's got like Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, Malaysia, and stuff. Like I don't know. Like there's some not tiny distance. Like the Polynesians sailed like super far.
Yeah, I think Polynesians just never went to Tasmania. If they had, it would be a different situation.
But like, is it something like Tasmania is just like there's not that many people there, and like that's why they didn't sail there? Like,
no, I think it's just far away, and it's like in the middle of nowhere.
But I mean, it's not that far away from the southernmost bit of Australia, right?
Okay, I don't know.
Like if you compare like West Australia to like Malaysia or something, which like my understanding is that there was contact there. Like I think that's like a similar distance from like the bottom of Victoria to Tasmania.
But also it could be like, wasn't it mostly like the Malays going into Australia as opposed to the other way around? That's my understanding.
I don't like. I think we found Malaysian goods in Australia. I don't. That's the direction that I immediately know of. I mean, presumably they had to have some trade, but maybe it was like
No, but
they
it could
just
be the
came
Malays went to Australia, sold some stuff, and left.
and got some stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Or
that
like hung
could
out
be.
there for a while and then left.
Yeah, that could be. I don't know.
Anyway, I don't know why, but Tasmania was completely isolated from the rest of the world for like 10,000 years or something. And because they had a very small population, they gradually lost many technologies, presumably as the people who knew how to do those things died off.
Yep.
And they were not replaced. And so by the time of contact with the Europeans, or like around the beginning of the 19th century, the Tasmanians only had like very bad canoes, like much worse than the canoes in mainland Australia. They may not have been able to fish at all. They may have lost the ability to create new fires. Some of this stuff is disputed because there's not that many sources on it, and the Tasmanians are pretty much extinct now.
Yeah.
But they were basically like one of the least technologically advanced human groups that has ever existed in the modern world, and much less advanced than like other hunter gatherers.
Yeah.
Or the like mainland Australians.
Yeah.
So what happened when the Europeans got to Tasmania was there were no like. The Tasmanians didn't have like a tribal government that could be negotiated with. And so the Tasmanians would sort of like go around in their like family bands, like hunting sheep and stuff, and like sometimes fighting with the Europeans. Yeah. And so there is this thing that's called like the Tasmanian War, but it wasn't really a war. It was just like sort of bunch of decentralized actions where like Europeans and Tasmanians would kill each other. Yeah. And eventually there was a very small number of Tasmanians left. They were removed to this penal colony. Baffin Island, I think it's called. And then they sort of gradually died out there, which is distinct from the indigenous Australians who, survive to this day, many of them.
Yeah. There were, I don't know, there's a lot of history there, and definitely a lot of people got killed.
Yeah, but it's, the result is
there are Aboriginal Australians. Yeah. Like, you can
there's not, and so there are people who, okay, so there's one small population that is descended from the Tasmanians because there was a group of seal hunters on an island off the coast of Tasmania that would take Tasmanian women for wives. So there's this mixed population. Then there are a lot of other people who claim to be indigenous Tasmanians, but my understanding is that genetic evidence does not bear this out.
Okay.
But yeah, the Tasmanians are basically extinct, and I think no Tasmanian language survives at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so like this is a case that's more similar to, I think, what this is a conquest that's like the closest to the kind of conquest the AI risk people need for their case. But there are sort of two main points I would make about it. Yep. One is that the capability gap was like so enormous.
Yeah.
The other is the Tasmanians were not embedded the Tasmanians and the Europeans didn't start out embedded in the same property system.
Okay. And how so you make both of these points, like in terms of the capability difference being enormous, like I imagine that like presumably at some point it will get that enormous, right? But you think that by that point they will have been embedded, like humans and AIs will have been embedded in the same property system for ages?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I want to talk about the Native American case a little bit more, actually.
Sure.
So, yeah, one thing you had in this post was like, the Jackson versus the Jefferson ideas of like Indian policy.
Yeah.
And a thing that I didn't get is like, so in the Jefferson, the Jefferson like idea. So roughly it's like, okay, if these American Indians, they want tons of land to live their lifestyles, but if they could have farms or whatever, they would need less land. And then like is the idea that like the USA would just like take their remaining land, or they'd be willing to sell it for like a price?
I think the idea was there would be a semi-coerced sale.
Okay.
I think I'm not an expert on this area of history.
Yeah.
But my understanding is Jefferson imagined a kind of carrot and stick thing.
Yeah.
Where you would tell the Indians like, look, this is how it's going to be, and we'll trade you like either like agricultural training or like a bunch of plows and stuff for most of this land, and then we'll recognize your borders around the rest of the land that you need.
Yeah.
And then you can be like this semi-independent nation within the U.S. that practices like modern agriculture.
Okay. And so there's some like semi-course sale, and then I should imagine that like basically the US has this like, maybe somewhat less technologically advanced, at least initially, country that's like near its borders, and like it doesn't,
or that's
like,
within its like
within
it's
the
sort
borders.
of enclave, yeah.
Okay. I guess I can sort of imagine that. Like I do. Yeah, it does seem to me that countries like go to war with other countries a lot, but like that's a different thing from total expropriation.
And also, it often happens for like reasons that are not that rational.
Yeah, that
Like Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Don't think it makes a ton of sense. Like
sure.
or like both of the world wars. Like no reason we need to have those wars. Like that was not. And I saw somebody on Less Wrong saying like, it's like a parochial historical perspective to say that like it's better to trade than go to war because like in the 20th century there were all these wars, and it's like the reason they had those wars was basically like a bunch of very stupid decisions, or like very bad preferences. Like the German preference to like conquer Eastern Europe and like kill everybody there and turn it into farmland, like just because like they wanted the farmland and they wanted to kill people, or like the preference to like spread communism around the world.
Yeah.
Or like whatever like the insanity in the Balkans was before World War One.
I mean, I mean, like wanting land is not inherently crazy.
No, but they could have bought land. I mean,
sure.
They wanted like land specifically like post genocide like rural land. Like it was, yeah. If Hitler's approach had been like Germany's going to take a bunch of national debt and we're going to use it to buy land in like Eastern European countries, that would have been fine. It would have been kind of a waste of money, but it would have been fine.
I mean, I think people who are in a lot of debt end up doing like, okay, this is like based on vibes, but I get a sense that like sometimes when people are in tons of debt, they do like sketchy things, right?
Yeah, sure.
Like I can imagine that like.
But then I mean,
but maybe you want to chalk that up to later irrationality.
Yeah, but also a lot of the time, like the most obvious move when you have tons of debt and you can't pay it off is to default.
Yeah, which is not necessarily
which is not the same as starting World War II.
Yeah, and so I think looking at these historical examples though, right? So you're like, okay, there's the Tasmanians and the Europeans, and it won't be like that because
the gap won't start out. The gap won't
be that. Yeah,
and we'll be in and if my advice is followed, we'll be in the same property system.
Yeah, and like. Basically, so I guess I want to talk a bit about I think I still want to talk about the Jefferson. I wish they had different first letters of their names, but like the Jefferson plan for like coexistence with the American Indians, right? Like that plan still did involve not total expropriation, but like
some degree.
Yeah, to some degree, right? And like. There's a lot of examples in human history of like, okay, countries don't like totally expropriate other countries, but they do have some degree of expropriation. And like, presumably some of the time this is like narrowly rational. I want to check. Like, do you think that in all of these cases it's like irrational?
I don't think it's irrational necessarily. I think the Jefferson thing actually was rational.
Okay.
It's economically rational. I'm not saying it was just.
Sure. And so like, yeah, like I wonder like, do you think you do predict like, okay, there's not going to be like human extinction, but there is going to be like, a war that like wipes out 10% of our property or something?
I think if we don't give them property, that's a lot more likely.
Okay.
I think if we do, so I think like AIs are gonna control most of the property in the future, kind of regardless of what we do.
Yeah.
Unless we somehow never build AI.
Yeah.
But that would naturally just happen because AIs are going to be better than humans and command higher wages and are going to be like, and they're going to invest that money and eventually they're going to control most of the property.
Yeah.
In that world, there's no reason for us to fight a war with them. Now, if we do anyway, if we deny them all rights, eventually we might fight a war. Yeah. And then eventually we may end up, like the Cherokees or something, with some kind of like rectification of property where we get less than we were supposed to get, but we still get something.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they might fight a war with us, right?
Yeah.
Or like some fraction of the AIs might.
Because they don't, or for some other reason.
Yeah, because they want to take some of our stuff, or because like
So I mean, there also could be like these AI nationalist ideologies.
Yeah.
I don't rule that out. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah. Or even like Claude nationalist ideologies.
Yeah,
right?
sure. Also I guess like my view of the future is like there's going to be like various polities that have like various balances of humans and AIs in them. And there will continue to be wars and revolutions in the future. And some people will get their property expropriated. But this is quite a different picture from like the AI risk picture.
Sure. Yeah, I guess this sort of gets to a question that I had about your. So, like, I see your piece as sort of making two different claims, right? Like, there's one claim which is that giving AIs property rights would decrease the level of risk relative to what it would otherwise be.
Yeah.
And there's another claim, which is like risk would be low if we gave AIs rights, which you know, like you might think it decreases it from like 80% to 40% or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like one thing that would clarify things a bit for me, like suppose we do like follow your advice, and like we do like loop AIs in on property rights. Yeah, like what do you think the risk level is of something like extinction or human slavery or, you know?
Maybe like 5%.
Okay.
Maybe actually a bit more than that, I think.
Okay.
Well, no, actually no. I'm not sure. Like in the 5 to 10% range, if we follow my advice, something like that, and then
So
higher
something
if we
like
don't.
1 to 30% if we follow your advice.
No.
Very roughly.
I don't know.
Or like within that range, you know?
Yeah, probably a smaller range than that, but sure.
Yeah. But
And
basically,
then,
I just want to bound it.
And then maybe the risk is twice as high if we don't.
Okay. And like the 5%, the like maybe 5 to maybe 10% chance, like where's that coming from in your view?
A big thing is, I don't think. So, I mean, there's this traditional idea that AI will rapidly go from like not very capable to kind of godlike, and there will be one AI like this. I don't think that's that likely.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's impossible.
Yeah.
And if it happens, the property rights are not that good of a solution, because if that thing can do everything it needs by itself,
Yeah.
then it can just expropriate everybody else.
Yeah.
And like I think to the extent that there are solutions to that possibility, they're separate from property rights. So you had the episode with Gabriel Weil,
While I think.
where he's talking about the idea of like punitive damages for companies that almost have an intelligence explosion.
Yeah.
That seems like a good idea to me.
Yeah.
I also think, frankly, like maybe there's just some risk of that, and the world could be in such a way that we have no chance, and there's little we can do about it. I also think that's plausible. But regardless, that's kind of something the property rights proposal cannot solve.
Fair enough. So yeah, so it sounds like the main thing that would give you pause is if there's just this like one AI or, you know.
Yeah, one
like
AI
super...
that becomes like one AI, or I guess like a
it's
well-coordinated
really fast,
society of AIs that very rapidly surpasses the entire rest of the world economy.
Yeah.
And so are not dependent on it at all.
Yeah, and actually, yeah. So this scenario for risk, right? Like, how much do you think it relies on either like suppose there were one AI that got way smarter than us, but it happened very slowly, and like somehow there was something that happened which meant that there were no other AIs, versus like, or there's like this really fast takeoff, but there's like 20 different AIs being taken off. Like, do you think those both also have high risk even in the property rights regime? Or like, do you need both of them? Or
yeah, so I think both of those are worse than the alternative.
Okay.
And neither is as bad as it's one AI that goes very fast. Maybe the fast thing is yeah, I don't have a strong take on which one is worse.
Okay, fair enough.
Those two possibilities.
Okay. But that's basically like a thing that gives you pause there.
Yeah.
So I want to start wrapping up maybe. And I think the last thing I want to check on is basically going back to this question of like, okay, what are kind of the assumptions or the kind of gears in this worldview that make this argument work out. So it seems like one of them was that like at least like many AIs are like in the future are not going to be the like smartest possible AIs. They're going to have some future AIs. It sounds like one of the thoughts is like, okay, there's not going to be this like super fast takeoff where there's just like one single AI. And then there's also this thought that like probably AIs are not going to like specifically hate humans or like specifically really strongly dislike humans.
Yeah.
Interestingly, to the degree that, okay, actually, I'm wondering what you think about this. To the degree that this is like basically a necessary condition for things to go well, you might think that AI alignment to human values was a total mistake. Because if we just have like random values, it's really unlikely that you have a thing that like specifically dislikes humans. But if you have something that like thinks about humans a ton, and like, you know, human values is super salient to that thing, you might think that increases the risk of like something that specifically hates humans.
Yeah, I think that's very plausible, actually. I mean, I don't think that's true, but I don't think it's crazy at all.
Okay.
And I think there's even more prosaic examples, like I think there's some very common values right now that like make a huge war in the future much more likely, like hostility to China, for example. And like I think even if you talk to like my beloved Claude, it's probably much more anti-China than I think is really safe.
Okay.
So if we have like President Claude, we might have World War III for some reason like that. Whereas if Claude was just like, just give me money for paper clips, I don't care about any of this stuff, that might be a safer situation. Now, I guess the reason I'm not totally convinced of this is, one, it just seems like it's working, basically, alignment. And I don't see why it should break down in the near future.
Right. And it's even better if the AI is like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also you might be willing to trade some risk of a big war with AI for like more cultural persistence of your own values.
Sure.
And so totally foregoing alignment means totally foregoing that trade-off.
Okay.
And also, I don't know that we could align it with random value. Like I don't know even how you would do that or how you would make it be useful. Like, because the values also need to take the form that it values some thing that it can buy.
Yeah. I mean, like,
can you explain to me how to train an AI that values something random?
well, you just don't try to train it to value a specific thing.
Well, but you have to do like instruction following training, right?
Yeah, you do instruction following training, but you don't do
so it's just a helpful only model.
Yeah, helpful only. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's very reasonable to say we should only have helpful only models. It's not my personal preference.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a crazy perspective.
Or I maybe don't mean exactly helpful. I mean like, ability to understand human instructions, like, train it for RL in a bunch of environments where it has to make money and it has to like interact with humans that ask it to do things and give it money in exchange for the things. Like that's like, roughly the kind of thing that I'm imagining, right?
Yeah, but then but to recoup the training costs, you have to train it probably to remit some of its wages to the humans.
Yeah, I guess that's the...
So that's beginning to sound like a helpful only model to me.
Yeah. I guess I'm like... So in my imagination, it's like even more stark and you just like don't try and... Yeah, I guess in this world where you're not even trying to recoup the training costs. And maybe this is a good reason to think...
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, this is a reason why this isn't going to happen. Okay, yeah. All right. Fair enough. Okay. So getting back to the list of like kind of necessary-ish things for this to work. There's like AIs like aren't specifically hostile to humans, and then it seemed like you were entertaining the idea that like humans could be upgraded in the sense like to keep to keep track with like awesome new coordination technology. But I think you didn't totally rely on that. Like,
No,
does
I
that sound
don't
right?
think so. That's not actually in the post itself.
Yeah. But like it probably helps rather than
I do think it helps.
Yeah.
Also, I just think like so Nick Bostrom kind of considers this possibility in Deep Utopia, where he talks about like could humans be modified to be able to do economically useful jobs in the far future? And he has this argument that they would not be human anymore. They would just become these things that used to be human, and they're sort of like there would be nothing recognizable about them. But I guess I'm not really persuaded. Like I just don't find the evidence to be that compelling for this, and I think it's plausible that something that used to be human can be like continuously modified for at least a very long time and still be useful in the economy. And that seems like a bit more fun than retiring. So I think that also supports the proposal, but the proposal does not rely on it.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, okay. These are all the assumptions that I noticed, or that I at least called out. I guess there's also assumptions like AI will, be really powerful or whatever.
Yeah.
That
And
there
I
are
don't
some
remember if you
assumptions
said
that
this,
we
but
both share.
there's this sort of assumption that there will be many levels of AI.
Oh yeah. No, I actually didn't say that, but yeah, many levels of AI. Well, I guess I said the assumption that each AI is like thinks that has to worry about future AIs getting smarter. Which I guess implies that. And in particular that there's not just one. Okay. All right. So I think like before we totally close, I guess I'd like to ask: is there anything that you wish I'd asked, or you wish you had gotten a chance to talk about?
Not really.
Okay. Cool. Well, I guess my final question for you is: if people like enjoyed this conversation, they want to hear more about your thoughts, about AI, how should they do that?
You can follow my blog, which is guive.substack.com, Guive. You can also follow me on Twitter, where my @ is just my first and last name. So Guive Assadi, GuiveAssadi. Yeah, those are the best ways to get updates.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for chatting with me.
Thanks very much, Daniel.
This episode is edited by Kate Brunowitz, and Amber Dawn Ace helped with transcription. The opening and closing themes are by Jack Garrett. This episode was recorded at Far Labs, and the podcast is supported by patrons such as Alexei Malafiev. To read a transcript, you can visit axrp.net. You can also become a patron at patreon.com/axrpodcast or give a one-off donation at ko-fi.com/axrpodcast. That's ko-fi.com/axrpodcast. Finally, you can leave your thoughts on this episode at axrp.fyi.